Hi, my name is Pastor Jack. One of the things I like to do as an expository preacher is diagram text. I do it for my quiet times. I do it for fun. Right now I'm diagramming the book of Revelation and the book of Galatians and the book of First Thessalonians just for fun, and then other texts as I need to preach them. I like to diagram a text because it shows me the relationship, what's primary and what's secondary. And it may sound a little technical, and it's not really. You can make it more. I like to color mine up just for the sake of other people or men and that I'm discipling. But what we're going to do is a friend asked me to maybe record this, and if people like it, I might do some more. But let's switch over to Logos and see what happens. So right here we have Revelation 4. So I've been diagramming through the book of Revelation. My goal is to get through the whole book. And just for a few little bits of information, this is the New American Standard text. I like this. The Legacy Standard Bible will also have this in it. But do you see this bold number right here? A lot of people don't know why periodically you encounter these bold numbers right here. That bold number. Look at, some of the verse numbers are bold. Why is that? They're that way because the people who translated the New American Standard Bible are telling you that between this bold number and the next one is a single main thought, a single what is called a pericope or paragraph. And so when you're an expository preacher, usually it's better to stay in one pericope, one paragraph, and not go outside. It's okay to do less, but you don't want to do more. You do more, then you have too many doctrines you're trying to teach at one time, and it just gets a little messy. When I'm diagramming, I can't diagram a big text. I just can't do it. So it won't fit on the palette. And so when I get to a big text, so for instance, this one here, the pericope goes from verse 1 all the way down to verse 11. Well, of course, I can't diagram that much material because it won't fit on the screen. I mean, I could shrink it down, but it would be a little difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot and see if I can do verses 1 through 4, and I'm going to kind of explain what I'm doing. Then I'll speed up the diagramming part, and then when I'm all done, I'll talk a little bit more about it, and so you can kind of see it done maybe in fast time. And that way it won't be too tedious. Okay, well, what I'm doing right now is I am going to let you see me diagram this in fast time. So I'm just going really fast here. I'm not going to explain how all this is done, but you can watch it happen. So I just crushed about 30 plus minutes of diagramming and thinking about the text into just a couple minutes. So I basically pull the text around at first to kind of get it into the general position I want it, kind of arrange it so that the primary things are to the left and the things that modify those things are to the right. I then color all the verbs in red, and after I color them all in red, I kind of just look at the English and guess at all the verbs. Then I go back and forth between the biblical text and the diagramming thing to see what I colored red to make sure it's actually a verb and it's not an implied verb. If it's implied, I may leave it red but leave it in italics, as in the little there was there. But anyways, I just go through, I just color code it. The color coding thing is, I use the colors in different ways. I usually do the verbs and verbals in red, and then usually things related to God in blue, and I just use different colors that make it work out. So I just kind of fiddle around, move it around, and though this is a little bit tedious because I color coded and whatever, you don't have to do this. This is just something that I do because I'm geeky and because I like to help guys. And once I do it one time, it's more helpful when I'm discipling guys and how to preach. So I just do it this way, and I'm always kind of fiddling, and there you go. There you have it. Okay, so you can see from right here, this is the text. This tells me what's talking about what, and this helps me understand with precision what modifies what the text is saying. And sometimes I do, when I'm doing certain texts, I'll go through and do word studies and insert the verb tenses and stuff. But this was a pretty complex one. This is a pretty hard one because it's not a full pericope, because the whole section is one kind of heavenly vision. And not only that, there's this whole entire thing right here, which kind of serves as the prelude to really who's speaking. So it's the voice said. Okay, that is the essence. All this other stuff is all after these things, after the receiving of the 7 letters to the churches and the vision of Christ in chapter 1. John looks, John beholds, and what does he behold? A door standing open in heaven. This is implied. That's why it's italics. It's a door open in heaven, is what the Greek says. The first voice, which, when you go back to chapter 1, you see is the voice of Christ, which I heard. Okay, and these are really kind of what is called an apposition. The first voice is what he heard first. And so he heard the voice like the sound of a trumpet speaking with me and said. So this is the voice of Jesus Christ. He heard it speaking and saying, this is the voice. Okay, so all of this right here, and it's interesting how it says behold, but that's exactly how we see it right here in Revelation. Revelation 1:12. Then I turned to see the voice that was speaking with me. Notice that. I turned to see the voice. It's kind of interesting way he phrases it. And here he beholds the voice. Okay? Then everything else is what the voice of Jesus Christ said. So this is all prelude, kind of this is the subject. And then this is everything the subject, Jesus Christ, has said. So when you come up here, I will show you the things that must take place after. There's a little time reference here, and immediately it was in the Spirit. This explains how John entered into the heavenly vision and was able to see all the things that are mentioned in Revelation chapter 4 and 5. John's transported in the vision. And we know that whenever this vision is, it's after the letters to the churches. And behold, a throne was standing in heaven, and implied, behold, one sitting on the throne. So you have the throne, you have the person sitting on the throne, then you have and he who was sitting was like. Now we're having some similes or description of the one on the throne, a jasper stone, sardis, rainbow around the throne. That's why jasper, sardis, green rainbow. You say, well, how do you know it's green? Don't rainbows have a lot of colors? Like emerald in appearance. Emeralds are green. And then around the throne, 24 thrones. See other thrones. And then you have upon the thrones I saw the 24 elders. And there they are there. And what about the elders? They're sitting. They're clothed in white garments. They have golden crowns on their heads. So these 3 descriptions. So this is what is called a syntactical outline. And there's different kinds of outlines you can use depending on the size of the text and the genre or the literary type of a text. You can have, for instance, a narrative. You might do block diagrams where you have this thing happening and then another thing, movements in a big story, something like that. Other times when you have, maybe a little tiny text, you might have to create an artificial outline where if you're just preaching on a phrase or something, you explain the meaning of the phrase in the flow of the context and then you blow out the doctrine of it. Or you have a syntactical outline for kind of a small to medium-sized text. And then you might also do what is called a synthetic outline, and that is an outline which extracts from the text repeated themes. So when there is a repeated theme in the text, sometimes you just want to say, well, I'm going to combine these repeated themes into a single point. So you basically have a point and you extract everything out of the text that relates to that single theme, and then you have another point, everything out of the text that relates to that theme. That way you don't have to have identical points. But anyways, this is it. This kind of helps me. And again, if I was preaching this, and I am going to preach this, I probably won't even be able to get through the whole text, but this gives me an idea of what's happening, and I'll probably change the outline points. I like to put second person if I can in here, but I might not in this case. If I want to make it more personal, I can put see the vision of the heavenly throne. You know why that's more personal? Because see is a command, and commands imply second person you. You need to see the vision of the heavenly throne. And then I could, when I'm writing my sermon or whatever, I can put come with John in his vision. Come see the future. I could put come in there or whatever, and that would be another command which implies second person. I want my people to feel like I'm speaking right to them. So that's a whole nother thing. I'm going to just fix a few things here. I'm just going to highlight all of these right here. I like to do this. All these kind of arrows and junk. I'm just going to highlight these quickly. There we go. That's all of them. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do dots, small dots, black. And then I'm going to touch on all the comments that I made, all the implications, the things that are implied. I think that's it. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to put it in italics so you can kind of see that it's in italics. There you have it. So this is what I like to do for my quiet time. I like to just sit here and break things down since I'm preaching through Revelation slowly. This is what I do. This helps me in my sermon because my outline comes exactly from the text. And what I mean by that, and I've talked to guys who have been in the ministry a while, and they think they're biblical expositors, but they're not. They're not expository preachers because they haven't got to the level where they know exactly what the text is saying, what's primary and what's secondary. So for instance, a lot of people come to a text and they'll see a text like this. So here's the text that we just diagrammed. And they will read this and they will pray over it and they will study it, and then they cherry pick it for what they want to say. That's not expository preaching. When you go through a text, big or small, and you pick what you want to say and you emphasize what you want to emphasize rather than emphasizing what the Holy Spirit inspired to be emphasized, you're not an expository preacher. You have to submit to the emphasis that the Holy Spirit put in the text by inspiration. That's what you're after. So a lot of guys don't get this. They think that when you say derive an outline from the text, that means, and this is wrongly so, that you go through a text and you find ideas and things in the text to create your outline. That's not what I mean, and not what must happen if you're going to be an expository preacher. You have to derive your outline from the very text itself. So when you look at this, all this right here, do you see how John was taken up in a vision? Right? He was looking, behold, and he was taken up in the vision. He's transported. All these three things related to John being taken up in the vision. So when I preach on it, I will combine, come up here, I will show you, and immediately it was in the Spirit. I will combine all those 3 points. So I could, if I wanted to, put 3 sub points in there, but these all relate to John being taken up in the vision. And then after these things is a key point. John is going to be shown the future. That's what comes from that phrase right there. John sees the heavenly throne. Behold a throne. John sees Jesus enthroned. Behold one sitting on the throne. John describes Jesus, okay, so he was like jasper, sardis, rainbow, jasper, sardis, rainbow. Do you see how the outline is coming exactly from the inspired emphasis of the text? That's what expository preaching is. Expository preaching isn't just going verse by verse or isn't just talking about things in a text. Expository preaching is rightly dividing the word of truth with precision so that you emphasize what the Holy Spirit has emphasized in the inspired text. Well, I hope that helps, and I'm going to try and do some more of these. This is my first attempt to just kind of randomly do these things, but I've had a lot of requests, so there you go. I hope this was helpful.
DrivenNails.com is a user-supported ministry.